York State Legislative Director, we actually now have a three-tier system. One of my, Glenn back there, he's actually a co-director of mine. So if you want to see him afterwards, please feel free to. He'll help you with volunteer stuff. If you're unfamiliar with Wolfpack, you may have heard of TYT or the Young Turks. Yes? No? Okay. Cenk Uygur, a former MSNBC host, he started his own online TV show many years ago. They now are the largest online news source in the world, and we are essentially their political arm. Now, we are all here for many different reasons, but ultimately we're here for one problem, and that is the undue influence that big money has in our political process.
I supported you from day one.
Whatever your issue is, whatever you champion, whether it's economic or social policy or even foreign policy, you've likely come to the conclusion that you're on the wrong side of big money. For some of us, that's a corporation influencing our representatives to limit the EPA's regulations. For others, it's a billionaire pushing for more tax loopholes. And for others, it's a labor union that no longer represents the interests of their members. The point being that we all suffer when large money interests have disproportionate influence over our elected officials. In the Citizens United case, the Supreme Court decided, for all intents and purposes, that money is free speech, the same as what I'm doing right now. And that corporations have the same inalienable rights of an individual, a living, breathing person, or as they call in cases, natural persons. Absurd. I find this morally reprehensible. Special interest groups and wealthy individuals alike can now spend unlimited sums of money to finance the campaigns of candidates they see fit. They do so through PACs, think tanks, and what they call charitable organizations. These donors do and can buy influence over policy, over law, and even over judicial appointments. Neil Gorsuch, for example. This tiny donor class can now more easily and more effectively than ever before buy influence over our elections. The question at hand is how the hell did it get this bad, and what do we do about it? Well, in 2013, Princeton University released a study that examined public policy over the past 40 years and compared it to public opinion. What they found is that laws passed by Congress have begun to reflect the will of the wealthy elite rather than that of the people. This tilt towards the interests of wealthy has become so extreme that by any realistic standards, our government is more an oligarch than a representative democracy. This divergence between public opinion and public policy did not happen overnight. In the early 1970s, the first cases to argue that money is free speech and that corporations have the same constitutional rights and protections as individuals began to make their way through the lower courts and inevitably to the Supreme Court. This destabilization of our democratic ideals has since culminated with Citizens United in 2010 and McCutcheon's case in 2014. Now, I tell you all this history not to bore you, but to illustrate the magnitude of the problem. Supreme Court cases like these over the years, not just these past 2 or 3 or 7 years in the case of Citizens United, have made it nearly impossible to legislate good sense limitations, and that is where the seed of corruption is planted. Today, if we were to pass legislation in Congress saying that money does not equal free speech and that corporations don't have the rights of people, that'd be fantastic. But literally, the day that law gets signed, it'd be challenged in the courts and be struck down again. So, to us, the only way to fix this problem is getting an amendment to the Constitution. Now, many groups have their means to do so. Some want to do it through Congress, which I applaud them for trying. But ultimately, we think that's like asking cancer to cure cancer. Every session, someone introduces language for an amendment. I remember in 2014, I believe it was 2014, right after the Democrats lost the majority, the day of the new session, Harry Reid introduced language for an amendment. Well, that's great. Now that you're out of power, you introduce the legislation. Great. That's really just a fundraising scheme, right? The next day, they put out an email saying, hey, you know, we introduced this, help us raise money. The whole point is to get money out, right? So it's politics, it's bullshit. Mind my French. Anyways, the reality is they don't want to get big money interests out of politics. And they all benefit from the system, and no side is going to unilaterally disarm. They're trapped in a financial arms race against each other. It's a terrible system that our representatives are beholden to, and they can do little to nothing to solve the problem themselves. Today we find our nation in the exact type of situation our founding fathers so predicted. The founders ensured that if ever the federal government became unresponsive to the will of the people, the legislatures of the states could amend the Constitution while bypassing Congress altogether. This is exactly what Wolfpack has set out to do. Wolfpack is a national organization dedicated to overturning Citizens United by amending the U.S. Constitution, thus laying the groundwork for free and fair elections. We believe that Americans should have a political system which is both free of the corrupting influence of excessive spending and fair enough that any citizen can run for public office. We plan to accomplish this goal by having an Article 5 convention, a limited convention of the states, to ratify or to amend the Constitution. The thing is, we need your help. It's not out of your control. The citizens in New York can take part in this change. That is why I am here today to tell you what New York is doing. We have been working on legislation introduced in both the Senate and the Assembly. Senator Kruger, Assembly Rosenthal, both who represent a district just north of here, introduced our bill, and they've been incredible champions of our cause. Since those bills were introduced, we have had considerable progress. We've met with almost, well, actually, I think every single office in both the Senate and the Assembly multiple times, something like 234 offices that we have met with over the past 4 years. We're currently focusing on the Assembly, and our efforts are starting to come to fruition. 55 of the members of the Assembly have pledged to vote in favor of our bill, and 30 of those members are co-sponsors. That's nearly 2/5 of the entire Assembly voting yes, and 1/6 co-signing our efforts. We have leadership support in the Assembly, including Majority Leader Morelli, Assistant Speaker Ortiz, and Deputy Whip Rivera. This is an overwhelming amount of support from the legislative standards. Where we do need help, though, is the Senate. The Senate is currently divided by the Independent Democratic Caucus, who are 8 members of the Democratic Party who have sided with the Republicans. And what we could really use is people's help, especially if you live in the Bronx. Any Bronx members here? No? It's unfortunate. Since those bills are introduced, we have, Albany just passed the budget early this month, and they're now turning their attention toward other legislation. Our legislation, we hope. We are putting efforts towards getting the free and fair elections resolution passed this year. We, like the 25 other states, have this resolution in their legislature, are to join California, New Jersey, Illinois, Vermont, and most recently Rhode Island, in calling for an Article 5 convention of the states to propose an amendment to the United States Constitution to overturn Citizens United and cases like it. Now, if you're asking yourself what you can do, well, I'll tell you what you can do. Our website, wolf-pack.com. You can go there and find New York. You can sign up. I will personally get that notification, and one of my organizers will reach out to you, train you, and help you make those first calls and take those first steps. Again, my organizing director, Glenn, he's here today, and he can help you if you want to talk to him. He's got everything you need to sign up. We need more volunteers to come together, to make phone calls, to canvass, to meet your representatives, to take part in your civic duty. Regardless of the results of the 2016 presidential election, many of us have vowed to stay engaged. Yes, we will be voting in the midterm elections, voting at the local levels, all of that, which is very important, but you must pick up the phone, make meetings, and remind your representatives that they act on behalf of the will of the people. You can reach out to them and hold them accountable. They are receptive to their constituents. Myself and hundreds of volunteers we have throughout the state, and the results we have gotten thus far prove of that. We are not paid lobbyists, we are citizens, we are constituents, we are volunteers, and we've taken the New York legislature by storm. We literally have them running from us. Just a quick note, one day we had a Citizen Action Day, and an assembly member who had been particularly thorny and evasive, he didn't know it, but he was riding in the elevator with one of our, a few of our volunteers. And he leaned over to another legislator, whispered to him, he goes, "You know Wolfpack's here today?" I goes, no, I didn't. He's like, they're insane. They won't leave me alone. And he goes off. He says, I gotta go hide.
Wow.
We're literally on the way to his office, and we get there, and we have a meeting scheduled, and we ask the staffer at the front, oh, we got a 4 o'clock meeting, whatever it was. And she goes, oh, he got pulled out to a meeting. We're like, oh, okay, we'll wait, knowing damn well the man's literally running scared from us. So this is the type of activism that we're involved with. If you want to be a part of it, I'm sure there's plenty of stories like that you can have and share. So I ask you to join us to help us help you, to help us remove big money interests from our political process. And it doesn't stop in New York. We're going to pass New York. New Jersey can do it. New York can do it. I don't hate New Jersey. I'm just saying, but we need your help, and we're not going to stop with New York. I plan on continuing on, helping other states, helping Delaware, helping Maryland, and we could really use your help. So please join us, help us.